Some managers have told me, I'll know it when I see it. What's the value of having an assessment process and objectives and following that as you hire new people?
Most sales managers are fairly egotistical, as are most salespeople. They think it's all about them. And therefore, when they're looking for somebody to bring into the team, they think to be successful as they've been, they need to bring somebody in that looks exactly like them. That's not necessarily the case, obviously, because we have different personalities and different profiles, even within an organization. So it's important to try and depersonalize that profiling of a salesperson. It'd be important, I would say, to have some formalized process that says, this is what we're looking for of the characteristics of a salesperson. And they won't necessarily be the same sort of characteristics that the sales manager would see as personality traits. It may be just the way of working. It may be their competency in a particular product area or industry. And those things aren't necessarily things that are generic to the sales manager himself.
Rick, some managers hire based on track record without assessing behavior or competence. A rep who comes from a company with a hot product in a growth market might have no clue how to do anything but take orders. How do you test they really know how to sell?
The research that you should have done on that individual and their market in the first place should give you some idea of whether they were riding that crest of a wave, success that was just being pushed along because they were being successful. I think the other thing is you need to remember people buy from people. And at an interview, you are, as a sales manager doing the interview, you're buying the individual. So can they sell themselves to you? Remembering also that you're selling the company to them. And so what you have to be very careful of, salespeople love going into sales mode and they'll sell themselves and they'll sell the company at the interview. But when you're interviewing, you're a buyer, not a seller. And therefore you need to be thinking about it as a buying process. Is this person what you want to buy?
Rick, what are 4 questions every manager should ask in an interview?
That's good. That comes back to my mantra about the 3 things that people want in a job: a good boss, good job to do, and the money. So the first question I would want to know is which of those 3 or 2 of those 3 things are broken in their current job? Why do you want to leave where you are today? Why are you sitting being interviewed by me? The next thing I'd want to know is why do you want to do the job that we've got on offer? What is it about that job that attracts you? And then more particularly, why do you want to do that job for us as an organisation? What is it about our organisation that attracts you? Trying to understand what their motivation is. And then flipping it around the other way, putting them into a real sales mode by asking them, well, why should we hire them?
What are the leading indicators that tell you when a person isn't going to work out? How could you test for that in the hiring and interviewing process?
In the interview process, it's interesting. You've got to do some personality profiling, in my opinion, using some kind of psychometrics or something that helps you to understand what is the person like beyond what you see in the interview. After the hiring process, then I would continue to use 360s from people inside the team, talking to customers. But before you start, you can, if you can, do that same thing in the part of the hiring process. Asking their existing customers what they think of them, asking people that they work with at the moment. It depends sensitively, of course, on whether the person is currently working for one of your competitors and what access you have to their customers and to their colleagues. But usually in an industry, particularly in this day and age with things like the internet, it's easy to find people that they've worked for before and to get to speak to their previous bosses. Why did they leave? What sort of person would they hire them again? Those sorts of questions.
Give us an example of when everything came together in hiring a new salesperson, when you got someone who turned out to be a top gun who really made your year.
That's a good question. And the thing I think about is that time that I hired somebody into a management team who wasn't in sales. We sat down and looked at the management team, we profiled the management team, and we realized that there was something missing. And to put it fairly bluntly, we needed some brains on the team. We were all good at talking and not good at thinking. So we actually trawled through the rest of the company looking for somebody, and we found a very, very bright engineer And we brought Peter onto the management team. He wasn't a manager, it wasn't a management role, but we brought him into that team as we were looking to redesign the company's offerings in the professional services arena. It brought in a new ideas and new dimension to what we were doing. And as a consequence of that, the following year, with our newly designed products that Peter had been involved in and helping us to put together, we actually hit our quota for the year in the first quarter. That's a great opportunity to see teamwork working at its best. Sales guys being able to take out a great product, but only because the management team were able to put it together, and we only did that because we had Peter on the team.
Rick, what would you recommend to a new manager to get up to speed quickly on hiring the best possible people for the job?
That's a good question, because it depends on what you're talking about. Are you talking about a new manager who's hiring a new team, or are you talking about a new manager inheriting a team? Let's take the hiring a new team from scratch kind of area, if you will. The thing there is you've got to get a blend. You want to build an experienced team, and an experienced team doesn't just mean everybody in the team is experienced. A classic team will have people coming through. You've only got to look at things like football teams to see that you're going to have players that have been in the club for years, but also they're always trying to bring in people from the academy, bring in new people to see how they work. And so for a new manager starting a new team, he's going to want to hire some guys with grey hair, some experienced people. He's going to want some middle guys, and then he's going to want to bring in one or two juniors as well to hopefully develop his own stars for the future. Putting together that kind of team means you really have to think about it up front. You can't just go out for a normal process. You've got to be building those slots, saying that I need to have somebody that's experienced, I need some middle order people, and I need some junior people, and make sure you're hiring to those three different profiles. Otherwise you could end up with a team full of grey hairs or a team full of juniors, or nothing really much at all.